In an emergency where there's like internet access is down, things like that, we might not be able to get like Amazon delivery of medical supplies. You still need some base supplies in your office and as consequence at the alternate operations location. Hi everyone, my name is Mariam Treystman from the Home Health Consultant, and today we're going to talk about what needs to be kept at the alternate operations address for your emergency plan. But first, if you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe. So first, what is an alternate location? In your emergency operations plan, one of the things you need to do is designate an alternate location. This is in case there's an emergency in the area and your office is inaccessible for multiple weeks or days or whatever. In this instance, your entire office staff needs to go to this alternate location and be able to work out of it for days, weeks, or, hopefully not, but possibly months. With an alternate location, a few considerations are you want to make sure that there's enough space for your office staff to go and work out of there. And you want to make sure that you are still able to maintain privacy and things like that so that you're not violating HIPAA regulations when you're there. So like you shouldn't be having your office staff work and then like your mom's like cooking right next to them or whatever. So it should be somewhere where you can maintain a private space. To properly maintain this alternate location, you need to have a set of things there so that your office is workable from this alternate space. It needs to replicate your office to some degree. Of course, you're not going to have like, an exact perfect office setup there, but you should have some basics so that it's easy to work and like possible to work. So what are these basics? First and foremost, let's think about some forms that need to be in there. Every agency is going to be different, especially based on your reliance on your EMR. But generally, as a best practice, you want to have like 50 copies, like 10 to 50 copies of each of the following forms. Why we say 50 is that if you're there for like weeks so that you're not, running out of these things easily. So you're going to want like your admission packages, research packages, discharge packages, like a few of those. You want every kind of discipline-based eval, follow-up, and discharge form, and just various things like a fax cover sheet, the MD order form, flow sheets, route sheets, anything that you're really going to be like using often, incident reports, case conferences, things like that. And you should probably also have some HR packages, blank ones, so that you can hire people if you need to and still have all of the appropriate documentation. So when you're thinking about what forms you need there, just do an inventory of like about a week time and just see kind of like what forms are we using over a week. Of course, the obvious ones are going to be easy to identify, but you want to get those like random other little forms like case conferences that you might not think about at the top of your head. The next kind of set of things that you want to have there are resources that you would need to be able to check on regulations. So first, you definitely want a copy of the emergency operations manual there so that obviously you will be under emergency proceedings that you can reference, who needs to do what. You want to have a copy of your policies and procedures over there just to, again, reference how to do things. An ICD-10 manual, any kind of like, if you're like under accreditation, so like the accreditors rules, the conditions of participations, your state rules, and things like that. And of course, you want to have also just kind of like a list of your contacts. So you want to have, for example, a list of as current as possible, your field staff, your office staff list, a list of your vendors and things like that, so that if like, let's say the internet is down, but you still have phone access, you can easily contact any of those people. Next thing, kind of a category that you want to think about is going to be supplies, medical supplies that you would need to use in the course of like treating patients. In an emergency where there's like internet access is down, things like that, we might not be able to get like Amazon delivery of medical supplies. over the past like 5 to 10 years, there's been a big change in the behavior of like purchasing medical supplies for patients and things like that. A lot of people do medical supplies on Amazon, drop ship with Amazon, things like that. You still need some base supplies in your office and as consequence at the alternate operations location. So you really want to think about what are some common supplies that we constantly use, constantly give out to patients and are needed at every visit. So gloves, normal saline, gauze, like things like that. Just the basic supplies. You want to have like a couple blood sugar machines, like stethoscope, anything to take vitals, just the basics, like blood sugar checking, whatever. You want just a general set of the most commonly used supplies. You don't need to be like a mobile medical supply company. Just have whatever you would have in your office, like a smaller version of that, but at the home. The next section of things that should be at your alternate location are like, what do you really need to operate in terms of your electronics? So you're going to need to have at least like 1 or 2 computers that can be dedicated for office work. You may never need to access this alternate operation site. Hopefully there's never going to be the kind of emergency that will deem your office inaccessible for long periods of time like that. But you do want to have like 1 or 2 computers that you can dedicate to work during that time and nobody else will use them during that time. We understand it's not practical or feasible to have like a 10 computer setup that like nobody else in your house uses, like separate, just waiting for like an emergency to happen. So you could make that your home computer or whatever. Just make sure that during the time that it's used for office stuff, nobody else is touching it like in the evening or whatever during that time. And once your office is done using the alternate location for those things, you want to make sure to remove any logins, like log out of everything, delete any things that could have been saved, just to avoid any kind of like HIPAA issues. Pretty much a computer that's used for work shouldn't be used by anybody that's not working on work, like whether it's night, day, or whatever. So in that period of time, nobody else should be using that computer. You want to have a printer or multiple printers, but like 1 printer is fine with backup ink and things like that. And if you're still using an EMR that's not accessible by internet, but you have to like download things, make sure that all of whatever you would need to download is already like pre-downloaded there. You probably want to have like document versions of your forms on that computer saved too, so you can just print them out easily. Now that, we can just like save PDFs on computers and things like that. You want to make sure that you have a functioning internet. I mean, most people do. And you have some kind of like way to call out and things like that. So it would be a very good idea for that alternate operation site to have a landline phone. Because if our cell phone service is down everywhere, it's going to be down in your house too, probably. And lastly, you want to think about a process to maintain all of these things in a current way. So what are we talking about? Supplies can be expired. Your vendor list can be outdated and things like that. So you want to set a weekly, monthly, and annual kind of like cadence, and of course as needed, to make sure that these things are current. I would recommend either monthly or quarterly to just check all the expirations on the supplies and, do a reconciliation on that and bring new supplies. Generally, your forms aren't going to be like expired or outdated very often, so you could do that annually or as your forms change in the office. And that's about it. Like, you just want to make sure that you have all of the current information in there and any basic things that you're going to want to use. You can dedicate like a piece of the closet or something to keep all of that in. A couple of other things are like safety supplies. So like fire extinguisher, like, maybe a first aid kit, things like that. You're probably not going to be reacting to the emergency, meaning like treating people in your home as part of that, but you do want to have these basics laying around. So that's it for the alternate operation site. Again, my name is Mariam Treystman. We are the home health consultant. And if you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.